firewall, which is where it leaves the network, or the router where it leaves the network, and the phones, and all sorts of things can cause problems like that. Like all of a sudden you get a bad Ethernet card that just starts storming out 1 million packets a second, and your switches just kind of go blink, all your voice traffic drops. There's also then quality of service that could be happening at the routing layer or layer 3, which is actually between point A and point B on the network. With the internet, it's called packet switched. Packet switched voice delivery. Traditional telephony has always been circuit switched, meaning from point A to point B, you've got a dedicated piece of copper. Well, that's great because you know that that's totally available for your use. You don't have to worry about quality of service. It's there. You have all the bandwidth. It's not being used for anything else. Well, with a packet switched network, such as we have with the internet, such as we have with voice over IP, you don't know where your packets are going to go. They could go one route, 1 second, another route, another second, and then switch back, or 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways. There's no way to control that. So, some of the techniques that have been used to basically provide quality of service are things called DSCP, which is a really strange acronym that I cannot, for the life of me, I've been sitting here thinking for 5 minutes, what does DSCP actually stand for? Does anybody know what DSCP stands for? Descriptive Service Control Packet or something weird like that. Anyways, there's DSCP, which happens at layer 3, is used between devices such as routers. Just to keep this simple, because it's really hard to talk about this in 10 minutes, I advocate a strategy where you use private inter-network connections to deliver your voice between endpoints. So I don't really sell services that go across the public internet because I can't control it. I don't want my packets going to California, Texas, New York, Chicago before they come back to the guy who's sitting next to me. So private network connections. At those points, it's very important to understand that you only have control over one side of that connection. You can only control the packets that you're sending to the other side. You can exercise absolutely no control over what they're sending to you, which is why quality of service over the internet is not really possible. So you have to have control of both of those routers at point A and point B to actually make quality of service work. So the way that we've implemented quality of service in our network, once we run a connection out to somebody, whatever router we happen to be using, Cisco, Astricon, whatever it may be, we create 3 what we call classes of traffic. The classes of traffic are 1, voice, which has priority. And the way that we look at it, if it's EEX or SIP or RTP or anything related to voice, that's going to have priority over everything else. If you are slamming that line, one of those Sirius satellite radios, and is listening, you got 20 people in your office that are listening to that, all different stations, high def, it sounds great, and basically you have no bandwidth left over for your voice. What we're going to do is we're going to start dropping the packets on all of the other traffic to make sure that the voice gets through. This is really critical for things like line alone service. For quality of service, you need to minimize that latency and that jitter and that delay from point A to point B. So class 1 is what we call our voice traffic. Class 2 is our remote desktop applications, because we have a lot of people that use, their desktops don't even physically exist in their facility. They have to get out to a data center to actually use their applications. So we give any kind of interactive traffic like that a second class, and then the third class is everything else. So basically, we give priority to all of the voice. We give secondary priority to anything that's interactive, such as remote desktop. And then the third stuff, we just kind of drop on the floor if it gets killed. Well, what we've been able to find, or what we've been able to do and test with this, is we've actually been able to bring up a couple of T1s in our lab and flood the traffic by BitTorrent. BitTorrent's great for that, by the way. Using BitTorrent, or all sorts of different things, whatever we can do. Let's just saturate a T1. Okay, we've got 1.54 megabits, that's approximately 24 channels at 64K, so about 24 phone calls. So we got 35, 40, 50 phones on our conference room table. Got them all in a meeting room coming across that T1. So we started hammering that link, and without quality service, the phones start breaking up. Music starts to get choppy, voice gets choppy, and you start to sound bad. you implement quality of service, all of a sudden, your BitTorrent speed goes to this, and it drops, which is what you want to see. You want your important apps to have priority.